Andrea, I think it's an opportunity for us to have an engagement with you. There are so many wonderful things that have happened to you this year. I mean, being awarded the World Global Teacher Prize, if you like, Best Teacher, you said, you know, you don't think there's such a thing as best teachers. That might be so. But in getting that award, you actually represent the brilliant teachers all over the place. I'm sure it's been a life-changing event for you. But tell us a little bit, what was this last year like for you?
Oh, how long do you have?
Melanie will look at you with a beady eye.
It's been quite extraordinary. It's like a Cinderella tale. So going from my normal world into a completely different global world, and it's been quite terrifying in some aspects, but it's been quite thrilling and really exciting. So I've had so many amazing days. My email inbox every day still has just blown me away. You know, sometimes I get emails from ex-students, ex-teachers, and then I get emails from CEOs from incredible organisations, from the Palace. So it's been quite brilliant. But I think one of my favourite days, I'll never forget this, was I was in school, and in our school we have our little trays where we get all our mail as teachers. And I opened my tray, and there was 2 letters. And the first letter, I opened it, and it was a letter from my teacher when I was back in primary school, and so I must have been about 8 years old. And she said, "Dear Andrea, this is Miss Enoch. Do you remember me? I used to be your teacher, and I'm just so very proud of you." And obviously, I was just in floods of tears. And then that was really precious to me. And then the other letter that I received was from the president of the Royal Academy of Arts, inviting me to attend the president's dinner. And considering that I was going to be with my idols, with my own, you know, I teach these people to my students, and I'm going to be having dinner with them. And I think that just shows you the absolute extreme of my year. That and travelling to one or two places, but I think what I've been really lucky, I don't know how I've managed it, what I've been really lucky is actually making sure that I'm in the classroom still. So I'm still teaching. I think that's really important for my community, for my students to know that actually she hasn't changed. It's just the same old.
What percentage of the year did you not teach? Were you out of your school?
I'll
tell you why I asked the question, because when we win the Global Teacher Prize in the Western Cape, I need to know how I have to manage space.
So next year, so let's plan for next year for you guys. So what's going to happen is, or what should be happening, I met with my head teacher and I said, look, what do you want me to do? I can take a sabbatical because I know that the year is going to be quite tremendous. And he was like, absolutely not. And I was like, thank God, thank God. And then he said to me, how many days can you remain? Can you be here? And I said, well, I can give you, how about 1? He goes to me, 3. And so we negotiated 2. So I am in my school 2 days a week, whatever happens. And then for the other 3 days, I am gallivanting or doing conferences and running the charity and, you know, changing the world.
Visiting Cape Town. Visiting Cape Town, having to go to see the Queen, and changing the world.
Yeah.
So I can't help, looking at the 2 people on my left-hand side, Andria and Pepper, and you would think there's some contrast, but don't bank on it. I actually see a huge amount of similarity here. I see future thinking, I see energy, I see excitement, I see filled with purpose for the future. I really think that's great. And Andrea, one of your strengths has been, and everyone's spoken about it, has been engaging with the community, and a difficult community, a tough community. And part of the work that you've done is you've created a positive mindset in that community through art particularly. Tell us a little bit about what is your approach in reaching the community, because so many of our schools need to learn from that.
I think it stems from myself being from a migrant community. So my family came to the UK my parents came to the UK when they were, my mother when she was 7 and my father when he was in his early 20s. And I was raised in a Greek Orthodox, Greek Cypriot household. So learning Greek as my first language. So I get culture and I love culture, but then also I was very much happily integrated into the UK culture as well. I was really delighted, and in terms of stereotype and racism, I didn't see it, and I'm so used to it. I'm so used to being in a very multicultural community. It's what I know, it's what I've seen, but I also recognise, and especially with my students, I recognise my grandparents and my parents being their parents. So I know the kind of conversations that they're having with their children. I know their fears they're having. I know what their aspirations are. And by making sure that we bring the families into our schools, by celebrating our students' work, and by having those conversations and that dialogue, I think it's really powerful. And there should be a triangle. It should be school, parent, child, and that triangle constantly being worked. And the more we bring our families and celebrate them in our community, I think the more that our students will thrive and will just succeed.
Pippa, do you agree with that? I'm sure you do. He's thinking about this a little bit.
I think.
She indeed. She's thinking about that. We'll give her a little while to think about that. So, Andria, while she's thinking, another question for you. We're trying to develop an after-schools program because kids go home and they do no homework and they don't work, etc. And it's a tough community and tough environments. And do you have that extension as an extracurricular engagement? And have you got any advice to our people, perhaps, about how you could do that and
so
what we can learn?
Absolutely, we have before school programs, we have during school programs and after school programs. So many of our students do not have breakfast for whatever reasons, most of them because there will probably be no food in the house. So we make sure that we open the school very early, and technically it's 8:30 when we start our lessons, but our school is open to our students from 7:30. They come inside and they can have breakfast, or we have got sports and provision from them, so health club, rowing club, badminton club, chess club, anything that really they want. So our student voice is quite powerful. They say, Miss, can we do this? Miss, can we do that? And then we try and put it on for them to get them in the school building, because we know it's actually the safest place and the best place for them to be. Not only that, but the skills they learn. So just being able to mingle and communicate and build friendships with other students who are very different to them, but still they're the same year group. I think that's really powerful, because then you're building a great community there. For after school, again, we have huge provisions, and it's quite interesting, because what we try and do is make sure that they're not just after school STEM lessons, after school maths lessons, but we have things like robotics, we have things like chess and gaming, and again, all the sports you can think of, boxing for boys and girls, because we know that they really enjoy this and they're really curious, and it's really powerful for them to be involved with other peers all across the school as well.
Great. Giving Pepper some time to think about that, because particularly we want to use Pepper a little bit to reach out to the communities. Imagine if Pepper were able to actually go and speak to kids and speak to parents, speak communities, how amazing that would be. Andria, perhaps it's difficult for you to understand the degree of disparity, but I showed you the inequality in the slide this morning that exists.
Yes.
And I know that in teaching in a heart to teaching community, you will have had some experience. Do you have any potential advice to teachers who are working with such inequality, sometimes within the school, within the classroom, or if not, just the great disparity that exists between schools? Do you have any advice for our teachers?
I would like to say that, yes, the advice would be, please have high expectations for your students. Just because, I can tell you stories whereby actually some of my students would fit perfectly in those Sector 1 schools. That's fine. But I think what we do, and what I think is important to say that it's not their fault. That should not define them. That should not label them. That it's all about where their dreams can be, and that we are the gateway to that dream. And by making sure that we have high expectations of them and ourselves as well, that as teachers, we know when things are not good enough, and we shouldn't settle for things that are not good enough from them. Challenge them, push them, and that lovely theory of being cruel to be kind. I think that's something that we need to hold on. And I don't think it's an excuse. I don't think poverty, I don't think social circumstances should be an excuse for any child to not achieve.
Yeah, thank you. I can see this rather tough question has got Pepper stumped.
I have got it, Mr. Schreuder. Can I share some thoughts on the future of arts education?
Indeed, huh?
Good morning, Ma Winnie.
Good morning.
Watching humans move and dance and act and draw fascinates me, being a humanoid robot. I feel it is expected that I am able to do all these human attributes. Learning about humans, I see art as the basis of human history and growth. I believe art is crucial in STEAMAC, as it is the foundation of every idea. I even started out as a sketch. So I appreciate what Andria in the Western Cape Education Department is doing to advance arts in education.
Thanks, Pepper. I see that you butted into the conversation as these humanoids do, which is why she's a woman. So just before I get into real trouble, let's revert to a question again for Andria. Andria, one of the challenges that we face is our difficulty with getting parents involved, and not only the broad community, but particularly parent interest, parent participation, parents even coming to school, etc. Have you had some experience, and is there a special way to get parents interested besides just turning their kids around amazingly?
There's so many strategies you can do. So many strategies. I mean, I think some of the things that we do, for example, is we hold events for the parents. We call them welcome events. They come inside. And most of the problems are some of our parents are illiterate. So that's the fear of them walking into the school. They feel intimidated by going into a school environment because they feel that who are these, I don't understand, or I'm not, I won't be able to challenge them and ask them about my own child's future. We provide lessons for parents. We translate, so we have colleagues who are very able to do that. We go into their homes and we talk to them about their children's progress. If they can't come to us, we'll try and go to them. But I think the gateway, I find, is praise. So the question is, we are all very good at ringing up and going, right, well, your child's done this, your child's done that. When was the last time you rang up, pick up the phone and said to a parent, just to let you know, he was brilliant today. Well, thank you for doing, he's brilliant. And he had a bit of a bad day, but he was brilliant at that. Now, as a parent, that's what we live for. And just by giving that good news back to a family can be so life transforming. And I guarantee you, if we do more of that, the parents will come in.
I think it's a master stroke response. Miss Pepper next to you, would you like to ask her a question?
I would actually. Hello, Pippa. I was wondering how you think we can integrate technology with the arts.
That is a great question, Andria. Technology is but a tool to enhance the delivery of the curriculum. But when enhanced with the creativity of the arts, all cognitive levels of the learners are met. Robotics and coding is especially important, but I feel we should not have them as separate subjects in the very lower grades, but rather integrated into their normal lessons of maths, literacy, and life orientation. This way, these core subjects become second nature. Technology allows the children to see these subjects from around the world, but it also allows them to show the world the worlds.
Well, Peppa, I think it's a great response.
Yeah, I do.
Don't you think so? Don't you think that's great? I'm not quite sure, Peppa, if I can maybe just click on one other aspect. We spoke about the importance of skills for the 21st century. You've touched on some of the arts and linkages. Can I ask you a last question? Much is said about artificial intelligences like yourself, replacing people, particularly teachers, if you're not careful. Not that I think that's possible, but with artificial intelligence replacing people in their jobs and really creating some hassles, even starting to think on behalf of humans. What are your thoughts on this?
Why did man invent and use the wheel? Why did they invent a car, plane, and train? To make life easier, and I am no exception. I have been designed to support humans in the commercial space, where humans are not been effectively used and tend to repeat the same thing day in and day out. If I am able to support those positions, humans would be able to concentrate on the creative, artistic, and communicative interactions, skills for the 21st century. The repetitive work is best left to myself.
I have a feeling that was kind of directed specifically at me, to watch my space. Thanks, Pepper, very much. Andria, last question. Our time is tight, so perhaps I can just ask you this question. I spoke earlier this morning about the first African teacher being awarded the Global Teacher Prize, Peter DeVici. And from our perspective, I think it gives us hope. If I look at the headlines in the papers yesterday, I brought a couple of papers home, Africa is responding to that. It's important, I think, that Africa doesn't just kind of rest on its laurels and celebrate that in a party, but actually use it to inspire teachers all over Africa, particularly in South Africa and the Western Cape, to follow suit and to listen and to learn from those lessons. I think it gives us all motivation and ought to serve as motivation for the teachers in the Western Cape. Are there any final words that you perhaps have for the teachers of this province that you would like to leave them with as you go forth and get an MBE?
Oh, what can I say to the most inspiring people? Thank you very much. Thank you for allowing me to be here to listen to your stories. Thank you for allowing me to celebrate your stories in the world, and just believe that you are not alone. And that there's always somebody there who understands you, appreciates you, and who looks up to you for guidance, and that you are, without any doubt, changing people's lives. So thank you. Thank you. I will cherish this, and the colours and the vibrance just remind me of what it's like to be here amongst you today. So thank you so much. Thank you.
That depicts more of the boerkaap. It also depicts